Obviously, the stage happened. We did good. Like, if we had won one more round in any of those games, or not had trolled against Parabellum in like 2 rounds, we would have got first place. That would have been great. But anyways, that's just bragging rights. So going into the major, leading up the scrims, obviously very good. We were doing very well, you know, very on point. Everyone's working together, good chemistry and whatnot. Got to the major, had a 5-0 lead against G2, and you know, just troll it.
As Grixon moves out to the top of yellow stairs, Alamo cuts him down, and that's going to be G2 taking the win, 8-6. The Soniqs are going to have to come back strong if they want to go through to the playoffs.
Yeti in a 1v3, but Prado with 2 kills sends the Soniqs home.
I don't think we had enough practice beforehand, and I think we were kind of like mentally chalked out before the major started, so I think that just like accumulated together.
I didn't play, we were playing like ourselves, and we didn't get blown out any of the games. Like, our worst loss is like a 7-4, but every game was like 7-5, OT, whatnot, and I think we beat ourselves, to be honest with you. We wanted to, you know, go out and try and win it, obviously, as every team wants to. Didn't go as planned.
I don't even think it's their fault much. It's just like maybe the wrong mentality, wrong players, or whatever it was, but hopefully I'm able to correct that alongside Gunner.
There you go, revamped Soniqs coming into this one. DarkZero is going to be a challenge, but I do feel like the team made some improvements, obviously, between Stage 2 and Stage 3. Like, they looked strong yesterday. It was a close match versus SSG, but they looked like they came into the stage ready to go.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that Soniqs won the roster mania of the offseason. I think our opinion on the desk was that it looks good, but we're concerned about the short term. Losing Super as an IGL is always going to be a big hit. However, they had a great game yesterday, so I'm excited to see if that can continue. I think DarkZero will not be an easy opponent by a stretch of the imagination, but yeah, Soniqs looking very good for their first start here in the NAL.
Yeah, I mean, when you pick up a former world champion, or a current world champion, I should say, and the guy who last stage was the 2nd highest rated player of your entire regional league, and even though he didn't go to a major, that's probably still one of the single biggest roster moves you could have made, aside from the leadership, aside from figuring out exactly how you're going to maneuver your whole team around lacking now what was arguably probably the big piece that got you all the way to those major successes. Now you do have 5 people who can shoot back, though, which I know is something that they're probably happy about. That they're always going to be able to rely on the base raw mechanical ability that every single teammate has, which is a really nice boost. For DarkZero, I wonder how much this feels like it's going to be facing a different beast.
Yeah, this will be tough, I think. You take a look at the stats here. Defensive rating for Soniqs, 2nd in the league coming into today. That's 67% after the first Playday, only behind Xset, who went 3-0 on defense against Beast Coast, that therefore having a 100% defensive win rate. Very strong showing from Soniqs to start things off. Of course, 1 Playday, not the greatest of sample sizes, but nice to see them off to such a hot start on defense.
You know, the other thing to consider, too, is that DarkZero is coming off a very hard-fought win, right? I mean, they did have to win that one yesterday in overtime. It was extremely close against their Charlotte Major Grand Finals rivals, Astralis, but they got it done yet again. Against Soniqs, so yeah, I mean, like, for a team like DarkZero, too, kind of the burden on you is being ready for all the changes, you know? I mean, you're going up, you're one of the teams that did not make changes coming into this one. You're going up against a lot of teams that are, so has the research been done? Has the prep been done? I feel like that's really more important than anything, is having the awareness of what to expect going into this. And after one day, again, it is only one day, but at least you get a little bit of an idea about what you might run into.
Yeah, I mean, you can't draw too much from one Playday, as you say, but I thought the attacking lineups DarkZero were running were really interesting. They had a lot of great ideas. I asked Pamba about it in the interview because they had, you know, Zero and Lion and Dokkaebi and Ace, and they had a really cool setup for attacking onto theme parks. So, yeah, I thought that was, it showcased that, you know, Mint and the boys do have a pretty solid understanding in the meta, and I'm very excited to see DarkZero going forward.
They're also one of the teams that still have one of the most expansive map pools that we've seen in the North American League. The only thing they really, really hate is Skyscraper, and if they don't ban it first, then there's very clearly something wrong. Someone ate something right before actually starting the day. But aside from that, I do feel like they have a lot of flexibility. They do have a lot of breadth. I just worry about their speed more often than not. I don't want to go back to classic DarkZero syndrome, where it was literally, we're going to keep on setting things up, try to focus on literally every different possibility we can find in a round, and then lose rounds because they've spent so much time preparing for every eventuality mentality and not actually pushing toward the site. You can't get everything perfect, and I think DarkZero have kind of leaned into that over the past couple of months. But again, you're looking to find form, and it did take a while to beat an Astralis team that very clearly is having problems yesterday when they played on theme parks. Let's see if they can't jump into a higher gear today.
Yeah, well, let's zero in on DarkZero. Well, you get what I'm saying. Anyway,
Come on.
We'll talk a little bit more about them. I'm so sorry. Got another week after this. But you mentioned the map pool, and that is really one of the main things that the players on this team were talking about coming into this stage, is that they didn't feel like they had an adequate map pool in stage 2. Revamping that, restructuring what the bands are going to be, deciding what to practice, maybe increasing the breadth of that practice is going to be crucial in stage 3, at least in their minds. And so time will tell. That's one of those things that you just can't get from one play day, right? You got to go a few weeks in to see if that's really going to be the case. But so far, so good. Although you do want to get the win instead of the overtime win.
For sure. I think that perhaps bringing Forceful in, the one kind of change they did make as a trial coach, might have been able to help a little bit with that as well, at least in terms of like scouting out the enemy teams and figuring out what types of maps they like to play, and that might kind of refine the pool for you, make it a little bit easier to go for your picks and bans. I think we probably have to talk about the GOAT. MVP from yesterday, right? Canadian Rookie of the Year contender. No player had 100% cost yesterday. We had one earlier today, but Canadian came the closest, 93%. He had one of 2 C4 kills, which ended up giving DZ the title of most C4 kills for the day.
Yeah.
He really did find a lot of impact when he was specifically on defense, on that Valkyrie. The intel was helping him quite a bit. He was focusing down that player with a defuse kit. Force was really struggling against Canadian, and I just loved his rotations. He was always in a place that you didn't really expect him to be, and he got a lot of kills because of that.
I think there's 2 things I'm looking for DarkZero in this game. I think the first is we're moving into a part of this meta where support players who are a little bit more aggressive usually tend to have more favorable results. I'm thinking like a Souls type of support player, and I do think that sometimes the role of a passive entry is nice, but when you have your entire team trying to move collectively toward one site, you do need reassurances that everyone is going to be guns up at all times. So I do wonder if that's something maybe we can see Eclipse move a little bit into something like that. He definitely wasn't always a support player. That's just what he's done on DarkZero, but I do wonder if that's the kind of thing he can maybe move into a little bit more. The other one is, I know a lot of people called Hyper a habitual baiter coming into this stage, and I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I do wonder how his interactions, especially when he's in the mid game, like working for frags, not necessarily on the entry front. He's always more of like the second entry, second guy in. So I do wonder if there is anything about his relationship or just the interactions basically with how everyone works in game is the most synergistic it honestly could be for a DarkZero team that feels like they're only like a couple pieces away from getting back into stage 1 form.
Let's talk about another one of the players that we haven't brought up yet. I think Pambazoo was a really interesting guy to watch yesterday in that matchup. In 14 rounds, Pambazoo found himself in 9 entry engagements. That's 64% entry participation, well above the 32% he was hitting last stage. Now we expect that number to come down from Pamba. We're only 1 game in. Outliers are going to happen in the stats, but still, it's nice to see Pamba engaged in early. 4 of the 5 of those opening picks came on attack, which means that arguably the best Finka player when Finka was at her peak, right? I think the Berlin or the Charlotte Major, probably the event for Finka. That was one where we saw Pambazoo really pop off and have a good time. He doesn't need her, and I think that's what people would assume. Pamba's always been a great gunner, but it's nice to see him having so much of an impact on the attack, despite the fact that the operator he's probably most well known for was not really an option.
All right, well, DarkZero, we've set the stage there, see if they can put things a little bit higher in terms of getting to that skill ceiling than they did yesterday, maybe get more of a clean win, but it's going to be tough because over on the other side of the arena over there in Vegas is none other than Soniqs. And Soniqs, like we mentioned, making that roster swap, bringing in Geometrics over from TSM, bringing in Gunner from Parabellum, 2 great additions to the squad at a time when you need players, especially like Gunner, I think, to be able to get those kills, get those 1v1s, and maybe, dare I say, a multi-kill or 2. Either way, this Soniqs team, I feel like, has kind of gone from 0 to 60, right? They went from a setup that had some firepower for sure, but was more methodical, more, thoughtful, right? Now you're going to something where they've got a little bit of that cerebral element from it, right? You've got Goddess coaching them. You've got Super giving some tips here and there, of course, even though he has moved to GM, but you've got a lot more aggression too than I think you had before.
Yeah, I think when you take a look at Soniqs and you take a look at the new players that they brought in, I think Gunner's somebody that we're still waiting to have a big pop-off game. He had 5 opening deaths yesterday through 12 rounds. He wasn't bad. He wasn't, player that really like hurt Soniqs too badly. They did win that game and they won it in regulation. But still, I think we are waiting to see the full potential of Gunnar still. I think the one person that really did show up big for Soniqs was Grixer. He had the highest DPS of the day, 150. That's a 2.67 KD ratio and a 1.33 KPR. He was fragging, okay? A lot of it came kind of late in the game on defense. Grixer on Valk, much like Canadian on Valk, was getting some great aggressive picks. A lot of it due to the positioning on players trying to get into the building or to trade his teammates. I think the intel was helping them out for sure. Another guy, of course, Rexon as well. We got our stats up here for it. 108 speed. That's got to be good, right?
I think so.
108.
But then 528 reaction time? That seems that's like half a second of lag.
We need someone to come and explain the rules to us, man. We don't know what's going on.
We're figuring it out. We're just figuring out, like, how is this, how seriously are the players taking this when they do it? That's the question.
Part of it, yeah.
We are going to have to all do this ourselves and see how well we do.
I'm so down.
It's inevitable.
No, we genuinely need to hit the practice room and do that in a second.
We're going to put our own stats on there at some point,
Yeah,
but,
I think, well, I mean, if only on my side of things, I look at Gunnar and Geo not having a big day yesterday, and I just look at the stat line of Grixer, Kansan, and Rexon, and I don't have that many concerns. I think a team like SSG is enough of a high-quality opponent that if you look at that result, you are super pleased with it because you understand the experience. You know that Skyscraper is a map that you haven't needed to play very often, but you could have kept it and worked on it in the background. Nobody else would have known until we saw it yesterday. You very clearly were confident in how you were playing it, which is just speaking to their comms. And I do think Geo had enough of a voice on TSM that now coming into a system like this, it means that even though it's a brand new environment, he's still going to be able to use the resources that have been built up from that core of 3 players. And there's nothing really to say about their performance other than that it was phenomenal. If Gunnar keeps on getting into entry engagements and dying, and you still have Grixer, Rexon, and Kansan popping off with double-digit kills, that really can only be a good thing, even if it hurts Gunnar's personal stat line.
I mean, the thing is, we know what Gunnar's capable of because we saw him have those monster days on Parabellum last stage. So if he can start recreating that, then Soniqs is going to look, even better. They're going to have that much more going for them for sure. But let's find out where we're going for the map. I guess they're going there too in a virtual sense.
Yes, well,
the bands are
more virtual than we will be.
Yeah.
I suppose. Jacob said moments ago that DZ should be banning Skyscraper first, and there it is, as expected. Also, the map that Soniqs won yesterday, so double the reason for DarkZero to take it out of the pool, that and it being their permaban. They do not play it. Makes a lot of sense. We get Border Bank as our next set here. Bank is a map that DZ became major champions on. They're also on a 3-game win streak there, while Soniqs are kind of a middle-of-the-road team on Bank, so I don't hate that they're taking it out of the pool. Certainly makes sense against an opponent like DarkZero, who have shown to be relatively strong on it recently. And then Oregon coming in as a ban for DarkZero. Soniqs, they love to play Oregon, okay? Before the stage started, it made up a third of their total plays, but they only had 2 wins on it. Their record is actually quite poor. One of those wins, of course, coming in stage 2 against DarkZero, so I think that is probably why it's coming through as a ban, but still an interesting one from DarkZero.
I kind of think we're leaning towards the Chalet pick. I think both teams really like it. They've played it a whole bunch this year. The other options, there's mostly Villa. I feel like that's something that Soniqs themselves don't really ever want to worry themselves with, but instead, DarkZero banned the Villa. Soniqs are not willing to take DarkZero to Chalet, a map that they already know well, and instead they're going for Club. DarkZero are 4-1 on Clubhouse over the course of this year. The one time they lost it was to XSET way back in stage 1. Every other time has been a dub, both like 3 times at Charlotte, 1 time in stage 2. And for the Soniqs, they've played it 1 time, and that was a loss to TSM back in stage 2. So it's a bit of a weird pick, but only if you consider it from DarkZero having such a dominant record, and not if you consider it from the Soniqs angle of understanding how much tape exists on DarkZero on this map and seeing if you can't turn it to your advantage.
DZ, a 4-game win streak on Clubhouse over W7M, Team 1 Astralis, and finally XSET, the first 3 at the Major in Charlotte, and the next one here in Stage 2. And then Soniqs, a 3-game losing streak on Clubhouse, stretching back to, of course, a couple of roster moves. But
way to go.
Stage 2, they lost it to TSM, then they lost it to Sandbox at the Major. So it's definitely not a map that they've been confident on recently either.
That's right. Well, there you have it. We're going to Clubhouse. Get to see who wins it, Soniqs or DarkZero. But before we get there, we have a little thing we need to take care of called predictions. And we're just doing the desk at the moment because we gotta mix things up a little bit. We've got a special treat that I'll preview after this. Actually, Jesse J. Chick is going to be casting this match with Stokes.
You are?
And they need me to stop being on the desk. Look at that prediction rate, 38.
It's too good. Well, you still get to predict.
To be fair,
Do I have
they need me to get
still
off
have
the desk too. So, but they're only firing you?
A few of us are down there, yeah.
Well, we got Stokes and blue answers anyways. DarkZero.
You got to get over to the casting side apparently to raise your prediction rate up because they're kind of crushing you right now.
I'll give it a shot, and I'll start by following the casters. DarkZero as well. I think those win streaks kind of speak for themselves. 4-game win streak from DarkZero on Clubhouse. Yeah, don't really feel like betting against that.
I don't know. I'll take Soniqs, but it's very much it's one or the other as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of reasons for why Soniqs would decide this is totally fine getting all the way through the pool, and they had the option between this or Chalet. If it was Chalet, I think it's probably Soniqs eking one out, but honestly, I like the perspective of Soniqs coming out with a win here, so I'll take that. I loved their performance yesterday. I thought it was great.
I think it is a tricky one to pick. We're going to see what the coin says. It's going to be heads, DarkZero. It's going to be tails, Soniqs. And it's tails once again. The coin just loves tails today. It's going to be Soniqs.
There it is.
See if they can take it. I think they've got the excitement, the energy to do it, so we'll find out if that proves true. What does a Twitter poll say, though? Who do the fans think is going to win this one? It's DarkZero. Okay. A lot of fans of DarkZero obviously out there.
There apparently are not enough Geo stands to help sway this one, evidently.
It was apparently a very close vote, actually. And I think that makes sense, right? Because obviously both these teams certainly have their fans and their detractors. So you know how the votes are going to be going. But I think we're going to have to wait and see how the map actually happens. First, the community poll. What are you going to be voting on before we go into this one? Who should win the Rookie of the Year award, Canadian or Gunner? I mean, you know, Canadian got our daily MVP yesterday, so he's in the running, you know, and I mean, why not? 5th, 6th Rookie of the Year award in a row. I mean, you just can't stop this guy. He's amazing. More
it's like he's spry and 20 years old again or something.
I know, right? I mean, I've never seen someone win Rookie of the Year so many times.
In his own words, he's old as... Hold on, I can't say that word on broadcast.
He's old.
All right, there you go.
He's just old.
It's been 84 years. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, our own analysts Jesse and Stokes will cast Soniqs versus DarkZero. Should be a good time. We'll see you in just a few here on NAL.
I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubbles still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bare face. Now he's gotta help behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I bow down to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you.
Yeah, so roster changes after the major, you know. Seth was pretty much already on his way out. Gunnar was already like in the works. Gio was super like last second, you know.
For role-wise, as you know, Seth is our breach player. It doesn't really make sense for Gunnar to take that role. So we thought getting Gio for Xander or Yeti would be the best option for us long-term, because Gio will play breach.
Funny story for the team dynamic. I actually have known Seth for like since the game was on Xbox Pro League. So the funny thing is, every team I've left, he's joined. So it's kind of like bittersweet just at the end. Like he leaves and I join his team at the end. And then we just have Gunnar dropped 100+ kills. You know, he's insane. So it's just, I'm excited to see what we can do.
Hi, my name's Gunnar and I play Flex for the Soniqs. The way I got on Soniqs was like, my org owner comes to me, he's like, so we have some teams that are interested in looking at you, and then they listed them and I just said only like Soniqs I'd be interested in, and well, a couple weeks later, here I am on the Soniqs.
Gio's a very upbeat guy, very easy to work with, you know, brings up good vibes, also a very good player, like that guy's insane. Same with Gunnar. Gunnar, you know, fun fact, we both went to the same high school, lived in the same city. But with those two, Gunnar obviously, very promising, young Gunnar, a very good player, brings good vibes, like open to learning. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I definitely think we have a better mentality now. Obviously, like playing with the same people for 2 years straight can get kind of repetitive or boring, I guess you could say. Bringing in 2 different players, you know, refreshes the environment and makes you kind of like want to strive to get better.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the NAL Casting Desk. My name is Stokes and I'm joined by none other than Jesse J. Chick, or Corn Pop, depending on how long you've been a viewer of Siege. But it's going to be an exciting day, guys, and not only that, but it's going to be the first time that you and I have casted together, and we've got DarkZero versus Soniqs, and get this, it's on Clubhouse.
Sam, we got a great game ahead of us. This has been a long time coming. You and I have been like working in the same like area for a long time. We've never gotten to cast. The first time I started casting actual leagues, Challenge League Season 9, filling in for this guy's shoes. So I'm excited to be alongside you this time. I'm glad you're not dipping out on me.
Yeah, I've always just had to escape. Yeah, I just never want to hang out with you, Jesse. That's the real thing. But
yeah, I see how it is.
Yeah, no. It's just something to do with Canadians. It's mostly Parker's fault, I would say. But no, man, we have an amazing game here for us here today. DarkZero up against the Soniqs. DZ coming off of a big win yesterday against Astralis, who not looking too hot to start Stage 3, but I'd say DZ is still within our good graces.
Absolutely. I think DarkZero, despite I mean, both these teams had really close games yesterday, right? DarkZero, of course, being able to win that one over Astralis, despite the struggles that we saw from Astralis today, I still feel like they've got some great moments in them. They've got some great players, and I think they played better yesterday than probably did today in that matchup. So I'm excited to see what DarkZero can do here against SQ. Two teams that I think a lot of people have predicted to make top 4. A lot of people are thinking will go all the way to the major. Soniqs, on the other hand, had a really important game yesterday. They were against SSG. They were against their former player, Yeti. They wanted to win that one. They did Grixer a huge reason why they won that match.
Yeah, you could have cut the air with a knife yesterday inside of the studio over there in Las Vegas, Nevada. But as you said, the Soniqs with a massive game yesterday, especially Grixer, 16-6, plus 10, a 1.63 rating. That's the way to start things off on the stage. Currently, still the #1 player that we have by rating.
Yes, also by EPS, 150 through the EPS rating as well. So he has been on top of it. One game in, we'll see how things settle down after a couple of weeks. But it's promising to see Grixer. I would say he was their best player on Soniqs through the last couple of stages as well.
Top 3 in North America. I mean, you can't take anything off of Grixer. You know, he performs when it comes to regional play. You get him on a big stage like SI, he's still right there. Not only competing with the best of the best, but proving that he's better than they are. I mean, he's a dynamic man if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I think you can also take a look at the one, the new players coming in on Soniqs, Geo and Gunner. Geo, I thought, played great. He was one of only 2 players to have multiple plants, I do believe, on the first Playday, so that was nice to see from him. Even though he wasn't picking up in the kills, he's filling in that role for Super, right? He's going to be that hard support. And while we do see some teams kind of leaning in more to playstyle where everybody frags, everybody's kind of involved, you take a look like Astralis, I don't think that's really the style that Soniqs need to go with Geo. They have the potential. Geo can get crazy, but the last game against SSG, that wasn't really what we were seeing from him. So not too worried about Geo. Gunner, as I mentioned on the desk, I think he's still got some to show. I think he didn't have the best of games ever. Not a problem, but I'm excited to see what he does in this game.
I mean, you know we have to mention those first 3 or 4 picks.
Yeah, a lot of opening deaths.
Yeah, I think it was 4, wasn't he? He had 4 opening deaths in a row, and that's not what you want to see, especially at a Gunner for his first game. You know, we hold his name in high regard coming from Parabellum, so to see that as his opener, he's definitely going to want to try and reclaim what we think of him, really, here today, which obviously hasn't faltered too much. It is a new team. There's going to be growing pains. Like you were saying with Geo, you know, they have a lot of potential now to frag across the board.
Yeah.
We all love Super and what he brought to the Soniqs with that big brain and how he was able to maneuver the team around practically anyone. But, I mean, he even said this himself, the mechanical play wasn't there. So Geo, he's better in that situation where he has the mechanics to get some of these rounds that would be out of reach for Super. But Geo might be able to pull that back across the line and, you know, get some of these really key moments under the belt for the Soniqs.
And I was worried that with Super leaving, I mean, Soniqs obviously, I think they've historically been a team that really have relied on one strong solo IGL to guide them and to lead them. And when you take Super out of that environment, I was worried what the coordination would look like for Soniqs, especially when you take a look at their attacks. How would that be going? And even on a map that's pretty difficult to attack, like Skyscraper, they still did a great job attacking against SSG. You know, they had some really nice shield pushes coming forward. We got to see the Monty coming through from Geo, was crushing it on that operator that he always has. It looked like the attacks were still going really nicely. So it seems like that's not too big of a problem for Soniqs. It seems like the IGL work is still pretty solid for them. I know Super was working with the team and has been working with the teams on the behind the scenes things. He's kind of been slowly integrating out. I've heard that even just like, you know, the players are like, okay, well, he's helping like too much at points, right? The players have said in interviews like, wow, sometimes it's like, Super's still part of the team, but we got this, you know?
You have to give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation, I feel like, though. I can't even imagine being Seth, playing this game for 7.5 years, then being like, hey, here's the keys to the shop. Now I'm going to go sit over here and try not to tell you everything to do.
Yeah,
like, you know, he's been here for every step and every decision that this team has ever made, and now he has to be, you know, outside the ring, standing there just being like, you got this, son.
Yeah.
You go and box, and hopefully you win. And that's really what it is.
Sam, it was back in Challenger League Season 9 when you went and did USN and I had to replace you on the talent team.
I had to cast with Intero for that event, too.
Awful times, but it's humble beginnings for the Soniqs. Super was on that team back then. They were Elephant Gang beforehand.
Oh, my goodness.
You remember that
gracious.
transformation?
Yes, that's right after he left Rogue in a pretty dramatic fashion as well.
Mm-hmm. And then that was the Challenger League season where both Soniqs and Disrupt Gaming were playing in that league. Of course, now Astralis, both those two teams have made it the big time here in the NAL. Lots of changes on those two squads, but still very exciting to see kind of the roots and the journeys of these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's so crazy that we're at this stage of the game with Siege, especially I think this stage has really exemplified this and the fact that we're in a new era. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we've all kind of had that over the last year where it's like, wow, I really don't know everybody just by their face anymore. You know, it's a new name. Like, same thing with this stage, right? Dexter, everybody's coming in. I'm like, what's a Mohese? Like, you know, what is this? And, you know, having to go back and learn more about these players and just see what they're capable of. It makes me honestly really happy for the future of Siege because, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I was thinking that Siege was dying there for a minute with some of the players that we were getting. We kind of hit a lull period where I was like, I don't know if some of this talent's really going to work out. And I'm so happy to have been proven wrong over like the next couple of years. You know, COVID was hard for everybody, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know if we're going to continue to get great talent. But I mean, this stage alone has just shown how many players are truly incredible at Rainbow Six Siege. I mean, just look at that Mirage game, for instance. I was so flabbergasted sitting in the green room watching that. I'm like, man, this is a strawless of all teams that's getting bodied like this.
Yeah, I think we're definitely, we're past the dark ages. We're into a new era of Rainbow Six. And you take a look at the new players in this year. Over a third of the players in the league right now are rookies in their first year of competitive play at a Tier 1 level. They're crazy how many new players there are jumping in onto this league. And you take a look at these two teams, DarkZero, one of only 3 teams that didn't make a roster move. And people have been talking, you know, with all the moves going on, should DarkZero have made a roster move? I don't think they should have. I think that obviously DZ, while they didn't make the major, they came so close. And particularly towards the end of Stage 2, they had a big upswing in their performance. They were really starting to win some games. I think their last 4 matches, they did lose one of them, but I think they still looked really good in all of them. Rough defenses, I remember, against Oxygen, but otherwise, they had a solid last couple of games to end the stage. So, you know, I'm excited for DarkZero, and they're a team that have their own fair share of young players, Pambazoo and JR. They're not the old dark guard just yet, but it is still technically a bit of a different generation from some of the teams we see right now.
Yeah, they got some scruff on them now, I'd say. You know, the polish is off. They're vetted fully. We know exactly what they are, basically, right? There's no longer any surprise when NJR drops 17 kills. I mean, hell, yesterday, Canadian dropping 15. We're so focused on him. We get to the splash screen for the scoreboard, and NJR is like, well, actually, I got 17 kills. So, you know, it's stuff like that where you're just so impressed by these players. But, you know, everything that is new usually has that extra glisten to it, so we're a little focused more on what's going on around the league. But I'm happy that DarkZero has been continually showing up throughout the year. We talk about it time and time again throughout, I mean, the desk, the casters, whatever. Siege is a game that requires so much grind. We don't really have a great off period. There's really no point in time where, you know, you got 3 months off. I mean, even Formula 1 gets 3 months off. We're immediately back into that grind. So for a lot of these players, especially teams that go off to these majors, they put in all that time to make it to the main stage, and then eventually, you know, for DarkZero's case, winning the whole damn thing. That takes so much effort. And then you're going to get home, take a week off, and then do it all over again, right? So it's a lot about that headspace. It's really not about do they have the talent, right? So we'll have to see. I mean, up against the Soniqs here for DarkZero, especially on Clubhouse. I think this one's going to be pretty bare bones, pretty straightforward, even with the new meta. I think everything that we're going to see is pretty expected. You know, we're still going to be playing for the CCTV wall. We're still going to be going for Garage. So I think it's really going to be down to wits and who can get one over on the other.
Yeah, I mean, we start off in the operator ban phase, and Thatcher's an operator that's really fallen off in terms of the bans. Obviously, with secondary EMPs coming through, Thatcher not going to be as important of a ban to take off the board. Thatcher Mav ban, though, that's going to be impactful. We're 100% going to see those EMPs coming out, whether they're on Lion, whether they're on Nook. You've got to bring as many of those as you can, because it's going to be very, very important that you open those hatches against, I was going to say, Kaid. Without the Kaid, it's still very important you can open the Jacuzzi wall, the CC wall, whatever it might be. There's a lot of hard breach that's really important on this map, and so without Thatcher and Mav, it's going to be quite difficult to get some of those out of there.
Yeah, very gentleman-like with these bans from DarkZero, respecting everything that the Soniqs are capable of, and the Soniqs going to remove Azami as well. But with this new meta in play and how things are now working, both sides of the coin, they have some tremendous weapons at their disposal. The big one that we need to talk about on offense, it's got to be the Nook. Jesse, update me on this.
Well, the Nook is, it's been a very powerful operator because she brings in, obviously, a decent gadget, being able to slide past those cameras, be very difficult to deal with. Also, the EMP grenades or frag grenades, whatever you're feeling on that happen on that day, whatever the role is you need to fulfill. Again, I expect if we see a Nook in this matchup that she will be on the EMP grenades. And then, of course, the weaponry as well. 3-speed, great gun, being able to rattle off a lot of those bullets, and especially with the new suppressors, a Nook can show up in places you just don't expect, and the suppressors can make it so difficult to recognize where they're at. So Nook can be a very powerful operator. We don't actually see it to start off our picks. Of course, there's still 13 seconds for DZ to change their minds on it, but their current entry operators look like Hyper is going to be on the Zofia, and then of course we've got Pambazoo actually on the Hibana secondary hard breach.
Yeah, it could be a hard ask in certain situations if teams have been banning out Nook a lot inside of their scrims, because then you're not used to having that player that gets that initial task done, right? Gets the EMP out there, you get the wall open, but then Nook, what she really needs to do is go to the complete other side of the map or go to somewhere where they don't know where she's going to be entering from, and then start pressuring through her utility, being able to sneak past cameras and just be a little bit more quieter than the rest of the offenders, and all those different reasons are the exact reason we've been seeing her get banned out so much. She's just so hard to track, and you don't want somebody slipping through the cracks. You'd much rather deal with somebody that you can see on cameras at all times. But fortunately enough, not too much happening just yet. Oh, Gunner's going to want that one back as he just flies over the shoulder of Eclipse.
Really not a lot of roamers right now. I believe it's only Rexon who's standing there on the top floor. He's really going to be one of those players that has a lot of weight on him through this map. If he can delay some time, if he can get a pick or two, that's great. But if he's just going to die, then that could be a problem. He's very close to these main stairs, so I anticipate he won't have a problem getting back to the site. It's a little bit of an extension for him on these stairs, and then blue stairs, of course, we saw Gunner and his attempt at an opening pick as well. As I say this, the two players are likely to be falling off. They'll have some intel from the Valkyrie cam, probably the most important operator that didn't get banned out on the defensive side. Can's going to be rocking that op. We'll probably see a lot of Valk throughout this game. Her C4s combined with Geo's as well can be very, very deadly if any attacker wants to go for a kitchen defense or trying to stop that plant as it goes down late.
One thing I always love to highlight about DarkZero is how strong they are with these cameras. That right there, Jesse, that's the first camera they've lost in this entire round. We're halfway through this, and that's a really big deal. Having that info game at your disposal at all times makes your job a heck of a lot easier, especially for some of these more agitated defenders that are trying to pressure things like main stairs for Rexon. But he's going to be forced back, but still info going to be found from Canadian. Loving this Jackal pick here.
Two nades is an important thing as well for DarkZero. They're not bringing the Yana, they're not bringing Glaz, they're not bringing the Nooks. So there's not a lot of options for grenades left in the meta, but NJR are going to be their only set. Might be kind of tough to get yourself an advantage. And Cans in, especially with that C4. We saw the intel earlier coming out, the opening pick onto Pambazoo.
What is that Claymore setup in secret?
No.
And Canadian's holding the hatch. He'll take down Gunner, and yet again, he just finds these weird situations he gets himself in. He'll eventually be the first frag for Soniqs yet again.
So it's going to be a 4v4 execute when we get on down to it. It's unfortunate Gunner went down there because otherwise they would have had advantage thanks to that C4 play. Geo up here in dirt. Looks like it's going to be a push mostly focused around kitchen. We've got a couple of players in there to start things off. There is a couple of players outside of dirt as well. With 30 seconds, the Jackal ping's coming forward. It's going to be DarkZero making their attempt. Not yet.
Oh, Canadian. Flirting with death inside of dirt, and he'll get it. Geometrics delivers with the SMG-11, but there's now drops into sight from DarkZero. NJR, all hands on deck. Hyper will take down Kansan, but they still have to worry about the dirt player. We're going to start the plan about halfway through that for Eclipse, as he'll continue to hold on to that inside of Dark. An impact out, and a kill for Rexon. It's all down to NJR, the L85 by his side, but they've got good info, and Geo can't miss with the SMG. The Soniqs find the first round, despite that early pick onto Gunner.
It's so tough when you're not running heavy roam strategies to have that massive advantage on the attack, right? For DarkZero, ideally on that bomb site, if there's a heavy roam, you can kind of win it in the early round. When they're playing so defensively in sight, you have to win it in the late round, and that makes it very chaotic. That makes it very difficult. Back in the day when you've got LMGs and you've got frag grenades, you know, maybe that's a little bit easier, but these days when it comes down to just the straight gunfights, it can be quite difficult to find that advantage when you end up pushing the site. They had it with the catch on to Gunner, just unfortunate that came after the opening death from Pambazoo on that C4. So ultimately a nice little site play from Soniqs. They have the crossfire set up, that one gunfight being won by Geo in the dirt tunnel, really freeing them up because they didn't have that pinching angle coming down for them. It was mostly focused around that kitchen drop. So a very impactful pickup by Geo. Nice to see him popping off and getting 2 kills in the first round of the map.
Yeah, Geo truly was the man to pull that single card out the bottom of the tower there, and everything just comes crashing down as you expect. Dirt is such a pivotal position for that play for the kitchen drop. If you do not handle that smoke player accordingly inside of dirt, they can just end the round through their utility alone, especially if it gets to later times. So unfortunate misfire there from Canadian as he pressures alone into dirt, but somebody had to do something. The timer's dwindling. You have to make these, you know, strong, decisive decisions, and sometimes they go awry. But past the first round now and into the second, we're going to have a, I believe, Master Gym defense, and we will. The Soniqs going to be extending themselves towards the eastern side, and not only that, but we've got Jaeger and Wamai in play here too.
Well, there'll be no frag grenades to catch from Jaeger and Wamai. It's just going to be a it's going to be an Amaru and a Fink? No, what's this?
Ying line?
Ying. Well, I'm not a caster. Ying coming through on Canadian. Listen, we've got some exciting ops here. It's a first cast in a while. We got some exciting ops from DZ, right? We've got some fast, aggressive kind of rush type operators. We'll see what the plan is for them. Canadian currently on the roof. Hyper could be coming up the Gym hatch, and often a move that we see. Could also come up Con, but we'll see. I think Gym may be a little bit more likely with the Fuse kit currently being held by Eclipse, but they could trade that off later, and he is currently positioned down there. So with intel coming through, I don't expect them to be able to hit this cache site head on. Canadian priming these Candelas, we may see a very fast execute onto the Soniqs Gym hold.
Oh, this could be a little crazy here. I do believe Gunnar has a disc there, so it'll catch the first, but this Candela should most definitely deliver. We'll see what he can get done here. Canadian's going to swing in. They've already powered through, and Gunnar's going to miss crucial shots. He's killed Kansan as well. Hyper takes down the construction player, and it's all left up to Rexon. He'll rotate in. He'll get at least the buck, but how long can he make it down this path? They know exactly where he is. More than likely be holding the construction door. He's marked out by the E1D, but finally Pambazoo will send him to his grave, and DarkZero get their first round.
Beautiful little pocket push coming through from DarkZero there. Of course, you've got the Ying Candelas coming down in through Logi, and then you also have the Amaru coming up through the hatch, being able to have that pinching support. Really did catch those players on site off guard from the Soniqs. They had that extension over to cache, which basically every team does, right? Not a huge surprise to see that coming through, but the rest of DZ coming in through to the Jacuzzi probably should have realized on the side of Soniqs that there wasn't a lot of pressure coming through the cache side. They had Con open, which did a great job of cutting off those players who wanted to retreat over from the extended roam, but unfortunately from Soniqs, they just couldn't make it back to site in time. Very fast execute from DarkZero, really hammered those home, and I think you saw the impact from those Candelas really coming through from Canadian, getting a couple of picks in that push. That was beautiful execute to see from DarkZero.
Yeah, very well done from Canadian. Catching Gunnar completely off guard as well. I don't think that he was aware that he was actually in the room until he had already made it to that angle. You know, shots start getting fired, and he's like, oh no, someone's in logistics. Ends up losing that gunfight as well. I'm feeling bad for Gunnar at this moment because I feel like he just can't get that highlight play he's looking for, where he's like, hey, you know, I'm here and I'm ready to play for the Soniqs. But hopefully it comes inside of this matchup still very early on as we are just now getting into round 3.
A bit of a slow start from Gunnar, but again, he's got a lot of fraggers on his team. Rexon's been having a very good game so far, so we'll wait and see where that comes later on in the game. We've got CCTV Cache as our bomb site for round number 3. Canadian on the Monty. He's likely going to be coming up through the garage side of things, through rafters, to try to be pushing out the player that might be playing up on the top floor there. Currently, there are 2 players, one outside the window and then one, of course, on top of the rafter stairs himself. It's going to be Rexon and likely Kansan up there in those positions. So for DarkZero, there's a lot of pressure to take those players out early. Grixer on the Valkyrie once again extending over to the Gym side of things alongside Gunnar. So 2 very far off-site players. You don't see this too often, but it provides a lot of opportunities to get some early picks.
Yeah, they really got to start playing this to the outside, though, because the big problem is, since Canadians on Monty, they have free pressure. They can walk into garage whenever they want to. They can really do whatever as long as it revolves around him. And this is the beauty of the new Monty as well. He's got so much secondary hard breach. You can just toss an EMP in. He can have secondary hard breach or smoke. So whatever really you want to bring, I mean, it's just exemplified by that shield and how you get to play around Montang. So for DarkZero, they're going to begin coiling around the site. Now, the important factor that comes into a plant for CCTV has got to be what they do with garage. They really need to dislodge Rexon here, as well as the player in tow with him. As you can see, Canadians made it to the top of the stairwell. I was very scared to see if he slides that shield or not, Jesse J. Chick, but I don't think he does. Instead, it's Kansan that pops out from mini stairs. He'll take down Eclipse. Canadians still trying to manage both of these players as they've hounded down on his location. Gunnar going to be able to take down NJR, and this is just falling apart at the seams.
Yeah, nice to see Gunnar on the board, and that's a 2-player advantage for the Soniqs. Having both of these players up on rafters, both the Jaeger and the Wamai, makes it very, very difficult for the Monty to coordinate with the rest of the team. Hyper going to be at a good angle to try to pinch. Very tight angle, but there's no swing from Gunnar, covering his teammate up inside of rafters, taking down Hyper, relieving that pressure from his teammate. Beautiful to see. Rexon eventually down, finished off by Canadian, but still it's a massive man disadvantage. They don't know where Kansan's at. This is all falling apart for DarkZero. Troy in the bomb site, but he can't stay for long. Too many C4s, 45 seconds, and only a pistol. Not a chance. Gunnar finally showed up in the server.
What an amazing adaptation there from the Sonics, recognizing what was more than likely going to happen with the Monty, so they reclaim downstairs, get secret stairs and lounge and everything, and then if they're allowed to play around there and Monty walks in, hey, that's fine, but anybody that doesn't have something bulletproof in front of them, they're going to get shot and killed. And that's exactly what we saw. Nobody was there to be able to back up Canadian because of the amount of pressure that the Sonics had around that area, and there was nowhere to deliver. They had, as you said, just a crap load of stuns, which is great. You can blind somebody, but you can't kill them, and that's the problem. You're not actually dislodging that player. You're just making them not be able to see for a little bit, and that's fine when the man downstairs is holding your cross.
Lack of nades has really shown itself in this meta to be a big problem for teams on the attack. Of course, you've got options, and right now it looks like DZ are going to opt to bring, I was about to say, 2 sets of nades. Pamba switching off, so probably only going to be the ones. Oh, switching again. Hype are going to be bringing them out.
Those nades probably.
Yeah, could go EMPs, but on this bomb site, there's not a whole lot that you want to be able to up with Kaid Band. Obviously, that's going to allow you to bring more of those grenades. You could still bring the EMPs, we'll see, but it's interesting.
So, this is going to be quite the round here with the Nook, because they're going for the extended roam, so do you just get the initial job done and just try and make a play for the site? That almost feels like the main stairs push right there is... It might be demon time. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how they try and use this, but that's what we're trying to get at. There's so many options when Nook is on the board, because just her existing is a threat, because you don't know if she's just going to walk through a random camera and now all of a sudden she's on site and 2 people are dead.
They'll bring 4 nades, but there's not a whole lot of hard utility that they're going to need to throw them at, so they can throw them at the players instead to try to force them off of these extended positions. It's a Mute Mozzie Vigil, full drone denial setup being run by the Sonics, so it's going to be a complete different strategy from what we saw back in round number 1. Hopefully for them it can find some success. Rexon with an aggressive C4, unlikely to find a frag. Nobody's up there at the moment, but perhaps if he times that well, he could get something if he's lucky. Although we're looking at DarkZero now. They've got to be able to get some of these kills or at least clear them out quickly. It doesn't have to be both. You don't have to kill everybody super fast, but one or the other really needs to come in for DarkZero.
All right, Eclipse is going to get a free wall to the west-hand side. That's going to force Gunner back towards main. Obviously, Rexon will still be upstairs inside of Master. They want to try and keep this extended hold for as long as humanly possible. Can they waste more time from the Sonics is the answer. They've got a very good supporting cast here. Things like Grixer inside of stock holding onto the hatch to make sure NJR can't claim this and allow some of his teammates to make their way back to site. And the beauty of this entire setup is that they've been able to waste so much of DZ's time. You can see how Hyper's trying to hold the rotation in for Garage here, but nobody truly wants that. They want to try and work their way back towards that stock room or down secret stairs, and it seems like Sonics is going to make it out scot-free.
Yeah, everybody from Sonics making it back to the bomb site at around 1:30. It's not the most time we've ever seen wasted, but at least you've got a 5v5 on site. You're not going to have the same utility that you had in the first round because you dedicated so many of these resources to the roam. Obviously, a lot of those mute jammers are up there, the Capcan traps are up there, likely the jammers, and just Vigil himself not being highly effective here on the anchor position. Now, Geo is still aggressive, and he gets out. It's okay. Missing some shots, and Geo escaping with about half his HP. Very lucky to be alive here. 1 minute on the clock. And the Capcan trap. Grixer's going to get the first kill on a Pamba. LOL XD. I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree, my friend. Grixer's gonna get taken out at the ankles here. I have to get him some KT tape to try and put those back together in between rounds, but this is gonna make it to where DZ no longer have any kind of advantage walking into this. Definitely sitting at the downward angle at the current moment. 30 seconds remaining, and they have to get downstairs. Geo and the rest of the Sonics are just awaiting their arrival. Hyper's gonna pre-fire some stuff, but obviously this is gonna give up his location. The Sonics continue to deliver in the frag department. NJR to go down. Kansan, a chance for a multi-frag here, but Rexon will get the first. Kansan gets the second. Not the last one, though. Eclipse will at least get one for his worries and prevent the flawless, but does it really matter when the round goes the way of SQ?
Yeah, great teamwork around Blue there. The brunt of the push coming in from DarkZero was focused around that part of the bomb site, and we saw Rexon and Kansan doing a great job working together, get some of those trades, being able to open things up and halt that push from coming through. Of course, that opening advantage being impactful to make it so the man advantage was favoring Sonics. Was he a tactical timeout? Initially being called here by DarkZero. Makes sense. You're down 3-1, and you want to use this tac timeout to try to get a 3-3 split. If you wait too long, it could get a little farther away from you, and calling it after, say, round 6 or something kind of screws you because at that point you're switching sides already and you can't learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely, right? Offense and defense are two completely different beasts in Rainbow Six Siege. Defense, you're a little bit more comfortable because, you know, you strat that out, right? Everything goes where it's set unless you need to move some utility around or maybe you change out an operator or something like that. But then you switch over to offense and it's all active coordination. You have to make sure all the utilities blended well, you're playing off of your teammates properly and all that in between as well. So there's a lot going on for these squads, so I completely agree with you. Good time to take a tag time out, try and talk things out, especially for DZ's last offense. I felt like they activated pacifist mode. There was really nothing going on in the early game. They try and set up to go for kind of that hammer and anvil clear on the top floor, but Hyper isn't even in an advantageous position, even given the circumstance that he's Nook. Instead, he goes to Garage, which is like the most straightforward way back, right? We see a lot of teams do that, but they don't have anything inside of Garage. They don't have a player in Garage. They don't have anything. So the Soniqs aren't going to rotate that way. They more than likely know he's in that area, and instead they hop right down in Lounge and escape through secret stairs or the stock hatch, and he's literally right next door. They're in the same zip code, and he's not able to even touch a single person. So, you know, you're looking to get a little bit more out of a Nook pick there, especially when he's able to sneak kind of into the back line like that. You know, but that's more than likely something that DarkZero wanted to touch on. And what the hell is happening here? Rexon bodies NJR. I look down, and all I see is a health bar depleting. I believe he got him all the way over inside of construction.
Yep. He was inside a stock and he hit the long angle through the door. Really unfortunate for NJ. Currently 0-5 in the server, the lowest player by a KD metric. So really not the start that he's looking to have. The one round that DarkZero were able to win was on this bomb site, but unfortunately it was with a really, you know, goofy strat, you know, a bit of a meme strat, something that you typically aren't going to see twice, right? It was a rush with a bunch of utility that probably doesn't get seen again. Now they've brought out some other interesting operators instead. Buck's kind of neat, Zero's kind of neat, Collie's the real one that you're looking at here, of course, playing the windows, making the presence known. Okay, Canadian not afraid to fire off a couple of shots and let the enemy team know, hey, I've got a sniper rifle on this window, please don't peek it, or do, and see what happens. But ultimately, Soniqs are going to be able to start themselves off with a nice little advantage there, and that will slow DarkZero on this execute.
Yeah, it feels like he's just trying to show some absolute authority, right? He's trying to make sure that they know that they can't peek these windows. It's kind of like playing plane and you hear glass outside. Yeah, I'm just going to prone. Yep. I suddenly am a crawling animal. I can't stand, actually. And yeah, that's exact feeling. You do not want to get bodied by that rifle when you're crossing. So I have to see here. Obviously, DarkZero worse for wear, at least for the time being, as they have lost NJR, and they're trying to make sure to clear out all of these hard-to-reach places, see if there's any rotations coming through downstairs, and now Pambazu will be able to try and work his way into bar successfully. He'll impact the floor and get rid of this mirror window. Not able to deal with Geo just yet, but Geo is on a hair's worth of HP. Literally anything is able to kill this man. Pambazu going to miss some crucial shots, though, as they'll tag off of the pipes.
If only they had a buck. Unfortunate that opening death means it's so difficult to be able to clear out a player from there. Of course, great work coming in from the Zofia of Pambazu, but still a lot of work to be done. They're up already inside of the site. Gunner's about to get himself into a gunfight, but they're not looking the right way, Sam.
I don't know what's happening here. Pambazu's going to take control. Gunner, luckily enough, will bounce back for the Soniqs. Now it's down into the 2v2. That was another thing I was kind of worried about, having Canadian on that rifle outside. It doesn't really do that much for you. He's practically just somebody that's going to stand there and hold an angle. He's eventually going to have to try and move forward with the pistol, but that allows Soniqs' late flank to come through, and they'll gun him down from the server window. It's up to Eclipse to try and bring this back for DZ. He does have the case, doesn't have any stuns any longer, and no more drones, but that 1.5 has been working for so many pros throughout the last couple of years, and it might give Eclipse the win here. A quick look up on the Evil Eye, but only really blocking the hand and making sure that he can't punch it. Eclipse more than likely dead in moments, and he will be, as Gunner will gun him down, claim the round, show exactly why he's on this Soniqs roster. That was a hectic round, either way you cut it for either squad, but Soniqs able to make it out of the thick of it.
They push it like 55 seconds, and it's a really interesting decision to go that quickly into the round because A, they were lacking intel. They didn't know that Rexon was over here cache side. They didn't seem to know where that player inside of Logi was. Really felt like they didn't have the full picture of what was going on inside of the site. And B, they had 7 drones still alive. 8, I believe. 7 deployed, 1 still in someone's pocket. So you seemingly have that information you could have played with. You had the time. You could have used that information. Instead, you choose to rush it. You choose to go a little bit earlier. The advantage of that, of course, is you're hopefully catching the opponents off guard, right? You're pushing when Soniqs maybe aren't expecting it, but really without that information, DarkZero were gambling as they walked walked into that site. And as you said with the Collie, I just don't really know how much value it gets. There's not a great long angle inside of Gym. Like, you can play on those windows, but you've got to play pretty
There's
close.
a better way to say this. There's no good long angle in the entirety of Clubhouse. It does not exist. Name one. The one is from stalls downstairs all the way to the kitchen door that goes outside. That's what you're going to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's not a lot of great angles for snipers on this map. You could play the rank strat and go sit inside a spawn inside of platform wall. Wait for somebody to peek that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think
Silver
that's
they do.
I think that's what Canadian wanted, really.
Yeah.
They denied him.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. But no, I'm just questioning what is happening with DarkZero right now, because this is not typically how we see offenses go, especially with Canadian at the helm. You know, if somebody had to step in and play for DZ, this is what I think a lot of their offenses would look like, right? Like they're almost there, right? But they're not just getting everything to go all at once. The meshing just isn't following through, and a lot of times they're getting punished quite early on, and it's making the game a lot more difficult for them. I mean, that last round obviously showing that quite well. You know, losing NJR and making it to where Troy had to do some weird things with Holly. Not going to be able to rush this down, obviously, as the Goyo canister will be attached to this break in CCTV. That fire will be there for some time, and Canadian chooses to start working his way towards Garage. Now, how does it go this time?
Well, you've still got the Monty. Seems like a very similar strat. Once again, Soniqs are not bringing any hard breach now, so the EMPs on Canadian won't really find a home unless they want to go up on these Raptors to maybe take down some of those ADSs or Magnus if you can find them. Vulcan canister dealing a lot of damage to Canadian. Really good value out of the Goyo there from the player up inside of Raptors. Rexon going to be able to use his utility there. Couple more gunfights happening there on the platform wall as well. It is Rexon who's up here in the Raptors with the Vector. Not the easiest of guns to take extended fights with, but perhaps could still be able to pick up a frag or two. That utility very important as well. Gunner, gotta be careful with those jump outs, eh?
Yeah, quite scary situation for Gunner, but fortunately enough, he'll find the drone before they find him. And what is happening here? Rexon, so many shots missed, but Eclipse down to 1 HP. No Nitro Cell for the Goyo any longer, and some serious pressure from DZ. Gunner, are you aware of the player moving in behind you? NJR can't hit the flicks, but they definitely know he's in the area now. NGR trailing the player upstairs. So much influence, but Pambazoo, out of all players, pops off. He'll take down 2. I think they've got garage control. Yes, they do indeed. And there's 3 players remaining for the Soniqs. So much time for DarkZero here. Concussions in onto Kansan's location from NJR. But look at the health pool for DZ.
Pambazoo got a good couple of kills. They're in now, going for the plant. Of course, Canadian's in position, but he doesn't have the defuse kit. It's going to be Hyper outside on the wall. He's going to give it to Canadian. Great way to move out of the way of that C4. I think that was unintentional, but you accomplish it anyways. 30 seconds, 1 player down. It's Hyper, equalizing to a 3v3. A kill on red stairs. Cans on to NJ. Suddenly, Sonic with numbers advantage, and Canadian's still got a plant. 20 seconds. These Toxic Babes have all been used up by Geo. Canadian trying to pull out the pistol. He's really got to go for this plant and pray that Pambazoo can cover. He's holding the angle in through the door to Cash. Loses the fight, and Kansan with the refrag on a Canadian. Really great defense from Soniqs. They didn't have numbers, but they pulled it off.
The adaptations from the Soniqs and their ability to try and adjust around some crazy circumstances, you know, like that pressure from DarkZero there inside of Garage, I think really caught them off guard, especially with the timing of it. You know, I think Rexon definitely expected to get a little bit more out of that for himself. That kill onto Eclipse really would have set the pace for that Garage, situation that was going on. But the thing is like, even if you are on low HP, right, you're still a body, and that's the thing, is like you're still able to play those situations. Perfect one being NJR, right? He stays alive. He's able to play off of mini, concuss the top of red, and kind of hold that area, making it even more difficult for the Soniqs to try and rotate off of sight and maybe deal with things through verticality. And for DZ, they're just not really able to get past the utility that the Soniqs had built up for them on that site. The Goyo canister smoke special, man. It's just so much delay, because you have to remember those Goyo canisters hold for 20 seconds now, which is just ludicrous. That's so much time. And I mean, everyone, you could have seen how large that fire pool is, right? I mean, there's just so much flame everywhere. There's nowhere to really move, even if you are Monty. We saw Troy try to motion in towards Garage. He takes half his HP worth of damage while he's actively trying to back away, Jesse.
Well, we talk Rookie of the Year, Canadian versus Gunner, and although it was a slow start from Gunner and we had our worries after the first game, he has really stepped it up. 8-3 currently in the server, the highest number of kills out of anybody on Soniqs. We've seen him turn things around on the defensive halves. Now they'll swap things up, and most of the community picking Canadian there. You know, sometimes you got to go for the meme, sometimes you got to pick the old man for Rookie of the Year, but ultimately in this matchup, it's been Gunner who's been the better player of the two, and it's finally nice to see him having a great day today.
Yes, indeed. Over a 2.0 KD, like a 2.1, 2.2 right now, that 8-3, and 0 assists. He don't need anybody's help. He's going to do it all himself. And why not? Gunner, still one of my favorite players to watch in the entire league, and have him on ace right now with that AK-12. Been loving that gun recently with the 1.5, but the caster's curse will strike, and NJR will hop in construction to his decimation from the SMG.
Unfortunate decision there. We are, of course, still down on the bottom floor base bomb site, so it's going to be tough for Soniqs to bounce back after they've already lost one of their key players here on the roam hunt. They're wanting to find at least a couple of these more aggressive players. No drone denial really being brought up by DarkZero, instead choosing operators like Alibi, like Legion, who can contribute to the roam game in other ways. But after getting one pick, it looks like DarkZero are satisfied. They've wasted about half the round, and as soon as Canadian chooses to fall back, they will be in a man advantage with all players on site. As long as Canadian doesn't die in this rat spot. Okay.
And that's really the ask as well. But the thing is past that is the operator lineup that DZ have is just such an annoying lineup for this kind of a situation, because as they're falling back to site, not only do you have the smokes, but you have the Legion mines, you have all those clones standing in angles that you're going to want to pre-fire, and you have Banshees to deal with. So, I mean, you have a lot of utility still to go through. You're really hoping that Rexen has some impacts to match those nades of cans. Unfortunately, that they'll be able to equalize with getting that kill onto Pamba. But where's Canadian? He's still inside of Lounge. Does have those goon mines over inside of Secret, but he's not going to be worried about that too much. The drone? Oh, I don't think it saw him, Jesse. I think he's actually slipped through the cracks here.
Did it? It looked like it turned his way. I'm not sure if it saw him
they're
or
playing 4-3. They definitely didn't see him.
Yeah, okay. Listen, they're going into Oil Pit now. If they did see him, and it doesn't look like they are just based on the drone positions of some of these players, they are ignoring it. It's going to be Kansas inside of Kitchen right now, who's trying to avoid these C4s instead. Canadian still not moving. 30 seconds left. They've got to get this hatch open. They've got to go for a play. It's going to be very difficult to make this execute with such little time that they've got, and with the one player behind, Canadian could be in a really bad spot.
Well, Rexen's going to take down Eclipse on site. This should activate Canadian. He has to do something about this. Inside his stock, as in the moment, waiting for the swing into Secret. He'll get one, but Rexen already got the kill, and DarkZero can't fight back off of sight. Canadian waited so long for one kill, but it might be the round because of it. Kansan will be able to at least get the case down, and now Canadian with the equalizer. No impacts to make new holes in this flooring either. Grixer now pseudo on the defense. He's got the whole site set up to play around, some info around as well with these drones that are actively on the floor, and Grixer's going to reposition himself into Secret. What an angle for him. Canadian has to bounce back and forth, just looking to see where the shots are coming from. Oh, big miss from Grixer. Canadian with the pre-fire as well. He's going to try and dog him, and they're both going to get 50 HP. Down to 10 seconds here. Grixer awaiting Canadian. He's going to have to try and fake this as soon as possible. He sticks it because pros don't fake, and Grixer will pick it up.
It was the MVP from yesterday versus the highest rated player, and Grixer will prevail. What an impressive round from the Soniqs, being able to execute with so little time. It was like 25 seconds when they were getting that kitchen hatch open, and that was where they chose to go for their execute. The fancy footwork from Kansan kept them alive inside a kitchen. They had that top-down pressure, and although Canadian was in a good spot, he was a little bit slow in having an impact against these players. He didn't find anybody crossing his path, so we really didn't get to see him in the engagement until the push was actually well underway. And then the anchors just falling apart. They couldn't hold it down long enough for Canadian to get that impact in. So very impressive round, and just like that, Soniqs are up on match point with DZ. Only one round to their name.
All right, Mr. Schick, were you walking in here thinking we were going to see a 7-1?
No, nobody was walking in here thinking we were 7-1. We had most of the desk and most of the cast just picking DarkZero. This was supposed to be at least a close game.
Yeah, and that's the exact opposite of what we're getting. And it continues to be the passive plays that are punishing DarkZero. We saw that from Canadian there. You know, if he maybe gets a little bit more active, can maybe make a rotation or something. Obviously, the Soniqs, I mean, they can have some things up to make sure that that flank is shut down, but you have to do something. You can't just let your site setup be decimated, because then you're just one person against multiple. I mean, fortunately enough, right, he gets that frag onto the player via the kitchen hatch, but I mean, if it was going to be that late of a rotation in the first place, you should have just tried to contest the vertical player, 20 seconds ago. There was a couple of different decisions that could have been made there, but you really can't fault Canadian too much given the circumstances. There's a lot going on there. He has that drone that's going in towards Secret, so, beggars can't be choosers. He asked for that rotate, or asked to stick on Rome, and it just simply doesn't work out for him.
Do or die, DarkZero, round number 8. They're here on CCTV Cash. They've got the Bandit, and they're going to try to trick. There are no EMPs being brought by Soniqs, so they're going to have to open that up with a frag grenade from below. They did bring 2 of those from Grixter. They've also got Cans and Zofia charges to try to open that up as well, but the bottom floor are going to be very important here. Canadian falling off now, kind of recognizing that's not going to come at him soon. He can play there with the wall being opened up as well from below.
What?
That's going to be it opened. Pambazu, the first kill on a Gunner, though. The Capitao going to fall.
I think he got him via the little window angle that's opened up for the garage panel. So that used to be the bread and butter. Open that up and then launch those Capitao bolts in towards the double wall, making it to where Bandit cannot trick no matter what he does unless you have a Wamai in the way. So for the Soniqs, they'll finally feel the wrath of DZ as they'll pull ahead early here, but that doesn't mean that Soniqs can't close this out in 7-1 fashion still. They have so many tools at their disposal. I am just staring down Grixer's little profile picture here, just waiting to see if he gets into an engagement. Still have everything else making quite a bit of sense, though, as Hyper will continue to hold things down in Raptors.
They really don't have an advantage here. Grixer coming in from behind could be it. He likely is unseen, using that charge from the Nook to be able to sneak in past the default camp at the top of the main stairs. Canadian falling back, doesn't seem to know that he's back there, so that is the power of the Nook. If he can sneak in late and go for an execute, they don't have Rafters. So far, all they have open is platform wall. Grixer, is he going to be able to get this pick? There's a shield there to try to protect the Bandit. Canadian might be playing behind it, but he knows there's somehow intel there.
Let him know, Canadian.
Disrespects, good lord.
That was disgusting from Troy. A 6 cents. Rookie of the Year, still going for it here in year 7 as he'll take down the Nook. But that's just a prime example of how detrimental that operator can be. If Grixer has a little extra battery, then more than likely Troy's dead, but it doesn't seem to matter for the Soniqs. 2 quick kills, NJR will bounce back. It's a 3v2 in favor of the defense, but they have garage control. Where's this case at? It's outside on platform. They're going to have to try and get Rexen up there to get it, as Kansan has that supporting angle, but he still has to cross across this red hallway right here, which has Pambazu in the wings.
Very little HP, 20 seconds. Rexen's got that defuse kit. He's got to cross red stairs. Actually, players going down. Rexen's going to get that kill. They're going for the frags. He finds the angle. 10 seconds, though. They got to pick it up, and they can't. DarkZero staying alive.
What a move there at the last second. I don't know which Soniqs player it was. I believe it was Rexen that almost had that 2K line up for him inside of Cash. But what a moment there, one where Soniqs could have just quickly swept this one under the rug. But DarkZero, they'll stay alive.
I like the decision to go for the kills, right? You have 2 players left alive. Your time is so low, and you don't really have the health to try to go for that plant there. So Rexen gets the angle in through red stairs, somehow wins that first fight, and then has almost the potential to get the other 2, but unfortunately does fall, and that's going to be the round for DarkZero. It should have been the round for DZ. It felt better for them overall, and it took Soniqs a long time to really get anything going. They eventually had Rafters, but it was quite late from them, and I think you really do got to give credit again to Canadian for spotting out that Nook one way or another, knowing that he was being crept up on and winning that gunfight, because that really did disable the entire pinching strategy of the Soniqs, and meant it so their push ended up being very one-dimensional.
Yep, that was completely game sense. They had no idea that Grixer was there at all. That's all just Troy's intuition and a little voice in his head going, hey, they're taking a little while on this push. Somebody can totally walk inside of Master. I should keep checking this.
Yep.
And he gets it eventually. So again, just huge praises to this guy.
It's crazy. A rookie's got such game sense. You'd think he's playing the game for years.
We're going to convince somebody. Somebody at home's going to tune in for the first time and be like, oh, Canadian's a rookie? Okay. No. In fact, this place we're in right now, he actually built this, if you ask him. So,
yeah, hand-built Clubhouse from the ground up.
I signed those bricks, boy. You better keep my name out of your mouth. But for the Soniqs, just one last thing I wanted to highlight around that round.
Yeah.
The play of Rexen and Kansan in that 2vx situation there, and how they played off of each other for that swing towards top red. If I don't see the rest of you in all of Pro League performing like that, I don't even want to talk to you or your team. Like, you better be playing off of each other like that in a team environment, because that was truly incredible. But even in such a high, tense situation, they're still just waiting for for that little extra time to get with each other and make plays as a team. And that's how you win rounds. That's how they get that close. So fantastic stuff for the Soniqs, but they're looking to close it out now. We're about a minute in, but not too much action. DarkZero going to start with his top roam, or at least an extended hold, rather. So he won't be inside of Jim and Master.
Yeah, opening up the platform wall, we do have an extension from Hyper inside of Cash, but he seemingly has fallen back to construction. Eclipse was down below, trying to play with the C4. Still could, of course, the intel could be fed by Hyper, but with how far back he's fallen, it's going to be quite difficult for that information to come through. It will be claimed by Soniqs, though. Every time DarkZero attacked this site, they chose to kind of avoid the Cash extension, but Soniqs choosing to fight it head on. If they don't have a drone for Eclipse, it could be dangerous because he is the player who's looking to walk up red and perhaps catch one of these players when they're not expecting it.
The big problem is, as well, is he has that nitro cell inside of his kid, so he doesn't even actually have to go face-to-face with them. If he can get inside a stock, somebody inside a Cash is more than likely dead. But fortunately enough for Soniqs, they've actually worked past this already. They have construction, and I mean, yes, they can have a nitro cell express delivered through the cons hatch, but that's kind of a big ask. A lot of the times we see them worry about that in the first place, so might not be the best give, but Pambazoo, heck of a shot towards Kansan as he'll take him down inside of red, and he'll back it up as well. Rexon tries to get the refrag as he'll try and sneak through the rotation, but DarkZero, they are taking it to the Soniqs.
Put him to bed, Pambazoo. What a shot from him to make it a two-man advantage. Now it's three. The last two players of Gunner and Grixer, the two Gs inside the Logi side of it. Pamba, the third kill on the round on the Gunner, trying to make it a flawless. Grixer falls. Beautiful play by Pambazoo and DarkZero, another round.
You see my watch?
What's that watch?
You know what
Sam?
time is it? You know what time it is? It's Pamba time, baby.
Pamba
it's
time.
Oh my gosh, it's Pamba party time. Triple kill, and not only that, but bodies Rexon on the window. I mean, look at this first shot accuracy here. Donk, just immediately, right when that reticle actually reaches the center of the screen, the first bullet just nails him right in the face.
And then he stops to type lol at him. He knows
dude.
how disrespectful he hit him with it.
Disgusting. I was making so many jokes yesterday when TSM had that game where Mahesi had GN in his name, and Merc was just bodying everybody. I was like, Merc's probably like, take my name out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You take that out of your tag. That's mine. It's copyrighted.
My goodness.
Yeah, but DarkZero making a grand stand right now on defense. I don't want to call this too early, but it does look like they're starting to put a comeback together.
Yeah, it very well could. I mean, it's two good rounds, and they weren't even like clutches, right? Those were dominant rounds where Soniqs really struggled to get going at the start. Of course, in that second, or in that one that we just watched, great, take of Cash side, but it was a little bit slow. They didn't actually get any picks off of it. They didn't have anybody for the cutoff on construction window or anything like that. So the result was that they got positioning, but they didn't get a whole lot else. And that opening pick from Pambazoo was so important. Even if he didn't follow it up with that nutty flick onto the second player on the window, just getting that entry is so important to stop that push from Soniqs and make them rethink a little bit what they're doing there over on the east side. But it's a new day, it's a new round here, round number 10 down in the basement, and we're going to be running with a bit of a roam strategy once again, but again, no drone denial.
I'm absolutely loving this from all of the teams we've seen. Across the board on every map, we've been seeing a lot of extended holds, and I think it's everyone's realization of just how impactful the secondary utility is. And now it's kind of forcing everyone to get inside of some of these early engagements and at a minimum waste time. You have to drain one of these resources, and it might be utility, it might be a kill, it might be time, but one of these three things has to go. Otherwise, the offense can just take full control of the map and have a pretty easy day, at least in the current meta, with getting things open that they really need to, and start applying that pressure towards the defensive setup. So that's where we're going to see DarkZero on this extension, and that's going to force SQ to try and go for this clear more than likely, as we saw from DZ and their clear. They just ended up setting Hyper inside of Garage and seeing if they could force the players into the rotation through the Garage window, but they had everything set up on that side to make some safe rotations back through Secret and Stock.
Bit slow once again from the Soniqs, yet to even see a player on their screens, let alone get into a gunfight with them. Pambazoo over on the strip side looking to be in the first engagement, but again, nobody's really here. NJR in a bit of a position to help him out, make sure nobody flanks on him. Rexon going to be coming down from the top floor. Everybody did leave from DarkZero on the third floor with the walls getting opened up. They didn't want to risk it any longer. And once again, we're likely to get in a situation where it's 5 players back on site, very low time for the Soniqs. The time works against them, but at the very least, there's not a crazy amount of utility down the site because they ran so many roaming ops.
Well, just as easy as that. And the Soniqs with 2, actually. Pambazoo is going to go down. I do believe that was one of the site players, or either that or Pamba was over towards main, I do believe. Something along those lines. We'll have to see if we can find his body a little while later. But past that, though, DarkZero now staring down the barrel of a 7-3. Gunner still playing patiently here inside of stock, and the Sonics wrapping around this site quite handedly. They haven't dealt with Kitchen just yet, but Kansan's got some good control over the center hallway.
It's a main stairs player who tried to go for a bit of a flank. It was NJR, but he got spotted on a drone, so he had to retreat. They're going to know his position, and he's not really going to have the opportunity to go for a flank. In this 3v5, of course, you want to get aggressive. You want to surprise the attackers and, you know, get that man advantage back. But with the hatches starting to open up, your options are being limited. Another drone is going to come down main stairs, catch him again, make it 3. He's just got to force back and maybe try to play these holes from down below. But now with another player coming in from dirt, Samuel, this might be the end of it.
Oh, man, I'm sweating bullets over here, my friend. They don't have the kitchen hatch dealt with yet, but Gunner's going to take down Hyper. Gunner's actually all the way in on B3 right now. How has this been allowed? Kansan takes down NJR. Eclipse, he'll stop the Flawless, but he can't stop the Flood. The Sonics will take it over DarkZero in such convincing fashion for a team who just picked up 2 people.
Very good start to the stage for the Sonics. Their last win was close. SSG gave them a run for their money, but they made it look easy against Troy's new team. DarkZero falling to the Sonics. You love to see it. Grixer and the rest of the team celebrating there behind the team. Really exciting stuff coming in from the Sonics, and it definitely shows that, like, they've been working on their clubhouse. Okay, they have really been stratting on that map, and they seem to know exactly how they wanted to play it with that new meta. It's not the easiest always to be playing without all of those frag grenades, and then you ban out the Thatcher and the Maverick, taking away that that wall opening utility that you're used to not having, sure, but combine that with the new changes that have started to hurt the attack. You could tell some of those teams were struggling, but SQ pull it home in the end.
Yeah, an amazing game, and I think one that will more than likely reference throughout the rest of the stage as well, especially for DarkZero's case. This is kind of an odd one out, I would say, especially watching them play against Astralis yesterday. I did not expect this. Immediately when I saw the map was Clubhouse, I was like, oh, this is going to overtime more than likely. At least. And yeah, they almost got it in 7-1 fashion. Fortunately enough, DarkZero was able to piece together some defensive rounds, but that's really where it was. That's how it laid, right? And then, I mean, past that, though, it just seemed like some of the communication that DZ had today was not the best. It just seems like some of the calls that they were making, some of the decisions that were happening were not really beneficial towards them trying to, you know, get the dub.
Yeah, some of those pushes definitely not going the way that they wanted it to. And again, we can talk about some of the plays they made, like Troy staying upstairs pretty late when he was going for that late wrap play. Talk about the Collie that got picked out that didn't really seem to find any impact. Of course, the one attack they managed to succeed on, they had the rush play. It looked great. It was clearly a pre-practice strategy, but when that's your only attacking round that you're able to find any success on, that's a big problem that you've got to work on.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw the bread and butter Canadian strat, right? Monty, we're going to clear garage, and even that goes wrong. There was definitely something that was off, you know, for DarkZero today, and obviously we're not going to be able to sit here and dissect everything, but that's what an analyst desk is for, Jesse. Unfortunately enough, we're going to toss to a break. We'll be right back later with our last match of the day, or yeah, our last match of the day.
Something I'm dipping the corner in something imported. I'm copping the land at the sand where the shores. Beautiful women who time in the mirror to show up the shows and see me perform this. Used to ignore me, I'm all day here, but I used to be timid. I don't know what fear is just taught at my dog and he told me he got me. I hopped up the line and went straight to go get it. I got us. Building this up out of mortar and brick. The way that it's going, I don't see it ending. The pigment is tinted. I'm really that. Go figure. I'm tapped into a higher power, feeling bigger than me. It's centering me. My enemy silent. They see that I'm fire. Can't put my energy. I got some real ones on my sideline, abiding by them guidelines. I'm way up near the skyline. You so barely fine, right? Only kings around me, others go now why I shine bright. Yeah, you hella fine, right? Hey, you looking like the wine and dine type. I'm basking in that limelight. Brody, get your chip stack. I'll teach you. I'm the wise guy. I'm getting right back that shit I'm sending out with vibe wise. You know we good on this side. I feel a black power.
Dollars coming, let me see it. On a mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Ask for it, you receive it.
Like glue, the leather stuck on me. I wanna move. And you, yeah, they all want a piece of me. Everyone in the crowd wanna feel it, they wanna be me. Thought I would make it big. Now I got all the gold that I need to be free. And you all want a part of it. Being to your first, I see it when I work it and you look at it.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Doe with Jacob Jesse here with you. And you know what?
He's back.
That was a lot. He's back. Yeah, that was a lot faster than I think any of us expected. How was your casting experience?
It was fun. It was always fun to jump on the mic with Stokes. He's a great caster, so being able to be online with him was a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, someone else who had a good time in that last match was, of course, Gunner, who's waiting to chat with us over in Vegas right now. Gunner, congrats on the win. It seems like the move over to Soniqs has gone pretty smoothly so far. It was yesterday was a little bit rougher, but then today I felt like you came back on an individual level, pretty much crushed it. How have you liked the transition from Parabellum to Soniqs here?
I've loved it, and it's definitely more of an adjustment, as you saw. Like, I'm not the first guy in running in after a drone, which is so it's taken some time to learn, my new spot on the team and how they run. But I think today, like, I was a lot more comfortable in everything I did, and it's just been a lot more enjoyable for me. Just like with all the guys, they're really enjoyable to be with.
From like a play style point of view, what's the biggest difference that you notice between a team like Parabellum that you were on, of course, last year, and then Soniqs right now?
I'd say more of like for me personally, like the way Parabellum operated last stage was we'd have Penguin on the lurk, just getting in, and then I was behind a drone. Just that's how it worked. And then Blast was joining himself in.
Mm-hmm.
And if we didn't win in like those first minute 30, get at least 2 kills or something like that, it was kind of over. We didn't really have like a in-game plan. Whereas with Soniqs now, there's always an idea of what's going on.
where Gio's calling, hey, reset, come plant here, come rotate here. Like in that last round, we were gonna finish Church, and then all of a sudden, he's swapping it up. He's running to blue, finishing Arsenal. So it's a lot more adaptive, I feel like.
What do you think was the biggest reason you were able to blow past DZ so effectively on a 5-1 half? You guys started out hot, really never let off the gas. They took a timeout. If you had to pick one thing that you would attribute to really contributing to this win, what do you think it would be?
I'd say they played more into us than we played to them, because like we really weren't doing anything like crazy, like aggro. You know, like most teams expect us to be, you know, in their face, fighting them 24/7. But like we kind of took a step back this game, because we know like DZ's a slower team. And there's a couple Arsenal rounds that you could see. It's like they were taking the entire map. They didn't know where anyone was. On our roam, we came back super early, and they just weren't ready for it. The late round, they could not execute against, you know, our team. We're just too good. So I just think at the end of the day, like, it came down to gunfights, and our team was better.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, I got to ask you one more thing. How's it been joining a team with Geometrics on it? I'm sure you watched him lift the hammer at SI. Did you think you'd be playing on a team with him by the end of the year? And how's that been?
I had no idea I was going to be teaming with Gio when I came to Soniqs, but I love Gio. That he's his experience, he really helps me, because like, you know, with my new role, he's been there, he's played the stuff I do, and like he's helped calm me down a little bit. You know, if I've been stressing out, you know, like performance-wise or like not getting flanked or something like that, and like he's really helped me get better into the role that I'm in. So I really appreciate that from him.
Awesome. Yeah, nice to have the veteran presence on the team for sure. But sick performance from you today as well. Congrats on the win. Good luck with the practice, and looking forward to seeing the games next week.
Thank you. See you guys.
Have a good one. All right, there you go. Gunner from Soniqs now. I almost said Parabellum. It almost slipped out there. We're all making adjustments, but Gunner on Soniqs, taking the best stat line, 11-6, helping them get the win 7-3 over DarkZero. Again, a surprising result. I thought this one was going to be a little bit closer. A lot of people picking DZ, but Soniqs certainly had it this time.
I thought DZ were looking a little bit weird in that Astralis game. I didn't have like too much confidence, especially given the way Soniqs, they didn't decimate Space Station, but it still felt like they went into a battleground. They were very comfortable with how they played, and I 100% agree with Gunner's assessment. DZ didn't really do their own style. I feel like they played into what Soniqs expected them to do more often than not. They didn't really seem like they had like a plan B for a lot of these attacks. If they tried an initial execute, they'd attempt to regroup, Soniqs would just tear them apart. And I really feel as like Gunner, I mean, statistically was also the spearhead of that exact thing.
You believed. You believed that.
I did believe. I was the only one who picked them in this game.
I mean, it was a great game from the Soniqs, right? And he talked about how Parabellum were a team that kind of had to win it in the early round, and it felt like that was the situation for DarkZero, right? They really had to win it when they were going for that roam clear. They wanted to win it, especially when they're attacking down on a Church Arsenal. They wanted to be able to get some of those opening picks, even, you know, if they had to attack onto like Gym Bedroom, right? But instead, it felt like they were able to force it into late round time and time again. And especially in this new meta, without a whole lot of frag grenades, without the LMGs alive, when you're in those even gunfights down inside of the push, sometimes it's favoring the defenders, I think, a little bit more than it has been in the last couple of stages. So, yeah, nice little play there from Soniqs on Clubhouse.
Feels good, man. Feels good to be right. That's all I'm going to say.
You needed it. I'm glad to see you get a win, Jacob.
I was 37%, and then I went for the wild card pick. I think this is concerning for DarkZero, I think, in two aspects. One, the fact that NJR didn't get a single kill on the first half. I think that was the immediate outset. He was 15 kills yesterday and then had squat through the first 6 rounds to start this one off. And then it felt like Gunner's assessment of they didn't know where the roamers were, I felt like was even more potent, especially realizing very late that there wasn't anybody who was playing when they were on Church. There was no one who really played upstairs. Soniqs played turtle strats both rounds, and yet Panba still dies early. Once to what the cap can, and the other time to it was the
C4.
It was the C4.
Yep,
so both times you'll lose somebody who is super pivotal to ensuring that a Church attack goes well. You end up losing both times. That's not the way you need to worry about a map that usually plays the same way over and over again. DarkZero just were not on their A game today.
Absolutely. Well, let's check out a couple rounds. And the first round we're going to look at is actually one of the moments where DarkZero did look closest to that A game, actually. We're going to look at round number 2. And this was DarkZero kind of being able to throw Soniqs off their game a little bit of a pocket strat, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. You're going to notice that at the same time they're prepping a drop down through Logi Hatch with a Yin Candela, they're also going to be looking to blow Jacuzzi Wall at the exact same time. It's timed to a point where Troy is just waiting for the call, waiting for the wall to get busted open, and I'm pretty sure he's aware there's going to be somebody playing Gold Vault. So if Gunnar decides to challenge, it doesn't matter, but there's one flash basically to smoke that there's another deployable coming in, and then the Candela hits. I don't think Gunnar gets blinded here. Canadian not only gets the wall bang, but immediately makes the transition back to Gunnar in gold, and all of a sudden everything falls apart from this point.
Very impressive stuff, and this is kind of going back to like what we've seen DarkZero struggle when they're trying to clear that extended position. We talked about how that was a thing on the basement. Well, here they ignored that extended position, right? They just hit the site. They went in through Logi. They had the cutoff coming in through construction, so they were able to stop those players from rotating back in. That was also a bit of a rough round there from Gunnar. It was tough to tell if he was blind or not. Either way, he kind of played like he was blind. Player was on a screen for a little while there and wasn't able to get that kill, unfortunately for him. But after that, we did see Gunnar turn it around, and it started getting a little bit better for them.
Yeah, that was round 2. That was the only time DarkZero were able to get a round on attack, which is obviously not ideal, even though we understand the swing defensively for Clubhouse. But yeah, that was the only time they got something going. And it very well could have been a pocket strat. It looked like it was.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. But Soniqs able to get a solid round. And round number 7, I believe, is the next one we're going to look at. That's right. So came in guns blazing, but they missed one crucial thing. They missed a Canadian who was a little bit more evasive than they thought he would be. And it got close. It got close.
Yeah, it kind of looked like shades of their game from yesterday where they had people playing in positions where they weren't flanked very often, but he's just upstairs in lounge, so he will make this late flank down stock hatch in just a second. But by this time, you already notice Soniqs are beginning to blaze through the remaining members of the defense on DarkZero and get themselves in position for a plant directly downstairs inside Arsenal. There's a bit of a trade back. Canadian's already made his move, and it turns into a 1v2, but he doesn't need to make this drop yet. He's rotated from stock hatch all the way back. I think it's to kitchen side. He will find the kill on one player planting. That's Kansan. And then it just becomes a 1v1 from this point, and Grixer plays it perfectly.
Yeah, it is favored for Grixer. Really, there's a height advantage for Canadian, but the fuse get down. Grixer can play wherever he wants to, and Canadian is not really going to have intel here. You can see all of his teammates just watching him in the back. What we really like to see at the very start of that was with Pambazoo going down kind of around the top of Secret Stairs, it allowed one death there being kind of signaling to the Soniqs that, hey, one player's already gone down here, there's probably not another, and that allowed Canadian to kind of rat up there and nobody else checked him. Would have been nicer for Canadian if there was more of a blue push. Unfortunate for him that it was only one player and the rest of the team ended up going for kitchen. But that was a great decision coming in from the Soniqs.
Yeah, that's right. And in the end of the day, that was all it took, for the Soniqs to be able to take the win in convincing fashion. So the Soniqs, I think, now that they're coming out of week 1 2-0, looking very good with their new roster changes, they're definitely going to be a team to watch. And, if they get back to a major, I think they could be pretty dangerous.
I think that's exactly the case that they were hoping for. We had some questions,
Sure.
Like, will this roster move take some time to heat up? And the answer is no. No, it's here already. That's, I guess, what the offseason was for, right?
Well, again, they did it against 2 pretty darn good opponents.
Yes. Yeah.
And now there is film on that team. There's at least a little bit of an operating premise. And it's also Clubhouse, which plays, it's been the standard in Rainbow Six for God knows how long. So when you head into these next couple of weeks, I think it will be tougher for them to have the same level of success. But I think they caught DarkZero off guard. I think they did really good against a Space Station team that maybe didn't have Skyscraper figured out to the exact T that they were hoping for. So it's a really, really good debut for a brand new Soniqs roster. I'm having a lot of fun watching them play.
Absolutely. But it's one thing to come in hot. It's another thing to keep that momentum going. So we'll have to see if Soniqs can do that as we move into week 2 next week. But we're not done with this week quite yet. The final game coming up right after this is going to be Space Station Gaming taking on Oxygen. 2 teams who I don't think suspected they'd be coming into day 2 being 0-1. One of them is going to get the win today. We'll find out who it is right after this.